Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today I have some mystery, thriller, romantic suspense recommendations for you, and I have 10 of those. Some of them are series, some of them are standalone. Now, some of the series, I haven't read the entire series yet, but I've read at least the first book or more of that series and enjoyed at least the intro to that series. So first off, we have the Triple Threat books by Irene Hannon. There are 3 books in this series, which makes sense given the name, and all 3 of them are really, really good. I enjoyed every single one of them so much, but my favorite one is actually the second one. I think it's called Labyrinth of Lies. And there was just something about that book. I was completely captured from start to finish, wondering what in the world was going to happen. But this entire series, really fun, very intriguing, pretty fast-paced throughout the whole series. In the first book, we follow Eve, who is a radio talk show host, and also Brent, who is a police detective. Now, Eve has moments where she talks about things in her radio program that don't make everyone particularly happy, but there's somebody who's actually targeting her. It's more than just being unhappy with her, they're taking it to the next level, and now she's being threatened. And so they're trying to figure out why, what is behind it, who is behind it. And so they work together kind of throughout this book. And of course, it's a romantic suspense, so you know. The next one we have is the Alaskan Courage series by Dani Pettrey. I have only read the first book in this series so far, and that's this one, Submerged, but it was phenomenal. It was extremely fast-paced, lot of twisty mystery elements going on with this one, and it was really neat to be able to see a mystery taking place in Alaska, in the Alaskan wilderness, in the waters around Alaska. And one of the main characters is a diver, so he actually performs rescue dives, which is really interesting. So our main characters in this one are Cole and Bailey, and they actually have a past with each other that of course comes to the surface when she returns back to Yancey, Alaska, which is where this takes place. But yes, plane crashes, water rescues, adventure, danger, Alaska. It was a really great combination. And there were some pretty strong themes of forgiveness in this book, as well as that whole second chance romance, and it was done very well. I can't wait to read the rest of this series. There are 5 books in the series, so I still have 2 through 5 to go, and I am looking forward to that ride. Next, we have the U.S. Marshals series by Lisa Harris. I just finished reading the first book in this series. So this is book 1, The Escape, and I immediately had to order books 2 and 3 because book 1 leaves off with a rather big event that happens. This is a very intriguing series. I was immediately pulled into it from the first chapter. The 2 main characters are both U.S. Marshals. They are fantastic. I love their personalities. I like how they work together, and the whole series actually follows the 2 of them from what I've been able to tell. They are in the entire series. Now, we don't always get series like that. A lot of the romantic suspense series are kind of interconnected, where each one is following a different character, and maybe you've seen that character in other books, but it's more about their story in that book and the mystery in that book, and it doesn't necessarily create an entire arc throughout the whole series. This one does, and so I'm very intrigued by that. There was a main mystery that we follow in this one, but then there's a secondary one. And there are some things that happened with the secondary one that really made me want to finish this series. I already wanted to read all of the books because this first one was so good, but leaving off like that, not even joking, I went immediately and ordered the next 2 books. So looking forward to books 2 and 3 in this one. In the first book, we're following Madison and Jonas, and they actually have to track down a fugitive. So they're involved in a plane crash at the beginning of the book and immediately have to find this escaped prisoner in the wilderness, and it's just action adventure from there. Next, we have a book that I read quite some time ago, but it was really fun, and it's by Dee Henderson. It's called The Witness. So this was published early 2000s, and it is a super fun story. So the main character in this one witnesses a crime and then has been on the run. She just disappeared completely after witnessing that crime, but now she's back and she's trying to protect her family. So some things happen that bring her kind of back out into the open, and she has to figure out what's going on. They of course explorers have to try to bring down who's behind all of this, and it's extremely interesting. It was really, really good, so I highly recommend this one. This one's a standalone, so you can just read this single story all in one and no more books, so it's not like a huge commitment if you just want something to just read and have everything wrapped up all in that one book. Next, I want to talk about one of my absolute favorite series of all time. I binged this series last May, literally picked up the first book, could not stop reading. This is another one where you get to follow the same characters all the way through the entire series, and it's actually written from the female character's perspective. And that is the If I Run series by Terri Blackstock. This starts out just running and it never lets up. Our main character Casey is blamed for a crime that she did not commit, and she literally has to go on the run, all while trying to figure out how to prove her innocence. Literally no one is believing her. They think she's done it, but she has been set up, and so she's trying to figure out what to do, and her life is on the line. There are people hunting her. She just has to keep fleeing and going from place to place. And in the different places she ends up, there's kind of some smaller mysteries along the way that she solves, but the overarching mystery remains a key focal point the entire 3-book series. I literally could not put these down, and I miss them. I want to go back and experience them for the first time all over again. Knowing that I can't do that, I'm at least going to do the second best thing and probably reread this series at some point in the near future. Next we have I Think I Was Murdered by Colleen Coble and Rick Acker. This was a really unique standalone book, and interestingly enough, within the mystery, you kind of tackle a little bit of the whole AI world as a component of what is happening. Our main female character in this one is Katrina, and she actually loses her husband, and it seems to have been an accident that killed him, but as she finds out later, that may not actually be the case, especially when she receives a message that says, "I think I was murdered." And so this spins off a whole look into what actually happened to her husband and who is behind all of this. And that paves the way for a fast-paced, super intriguing mystery with technology as a very heavy component of it. And next we have Trace of Doubt by Dianne Mills. This is also a standalone, so this is a good one if you don't want to get involved with an entire series. This follows our main character Shelby, who at the beginning of the book is just being released from prison for a crime that she confessed to committing about 15 years prior. Our male main character in this book, Denton, is an FBI special agent, and as time goes on and he's getting to know Shelby more and more, he starts to have a trace of doubt as to whether or not she's actually guilty of this crime that she confessed to. This book twists and turns and goes all kinds of places by the time you get to the end and really figure out what is going on with it. It was definitely a bit of an adrenaline ride in certain portions of the book, and just when you think you have things figured out, something else just completely turns on its head. I really enjoyed this one, and it was actually very, very unique, quite different from a lot of other books that I have read in this genre. And to follow that one, we have Mind Games by Nancy Mehl. This is a trilogy. This one also follows the same characters throughout the trilogy. We are following Kaelly Quinn, and she is a behavioral analyst for the FBI. Her mysteries that she has to solve are just a lot. This first book is pretty intense with what she is having to deal with essentially a serial killer that she's having to track down and put a stop to. The second book is more about a serial arsonist, and I'm not entirely sure yet what all happens in book 3 because I have not yet read book 3. But I have read books 1 and 2, and they were both really good. Kaelly is quite an interesting main character. She is very different from a lot of the main characters that you see in a lot of these suspense thriller books. Her personality, her traits, her quirks, very, very unique and very fun following her story and the story of Noah Hunter, special agent, who is also in all 3 of these books. For another standalone, we have The Souls of Lost Lake by Jaime Jo Wright. This is more of a gothic suspense. It says on the back, to save the innocent, they must face an insidious evil. This is a dual timeline book. So we have something happening in the current timeline and also something happening in a historical timeline that has bearing on our current one. This book was super atmospheric, eerie, intriguing, just amazingly well done. It was the first book that I actually read by Jaime Jo Wright and is the one that sent me on a journey to read literally everything she's ever written. And so I'm working my way through her backlist, trying to read everything. So far, I think I've read about 6 of her books, and I have loved every single one of them, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with her novels. And last, but certainly not least, is another one of my favorite romantic suspense series, and that is The Elite Guardians by Lynette Eason. This series has 4 books in it, and each of the books follows a member of the Elite Guardians, who are essentially bodyguards who are trying to protect people who have been targeted. Now, of course, because of that, they are drawn into some crazy mysteries, like super intense, super twisty mysteries that they have to solve along the way. Because you're following a different person from the Elite Guardians in each of the books, you do have kind of an interconnected standalone type situation, but I would highly recommend that you read them in order because there are things that are alluded to in later books that are things that take place in previous ones. I have read all 4 of these. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I think if I had to, I would probably pick number 3 as my favorite, which is Maddie's story. The intro to that one was wild. It was just so interesting. But every single one of these are so good. There are spin-off series that have been written with other characters that have been added to the Elite Guardians universe, so to speak. And so I have read one of those series. It was really great. And then I'm hoping to read the other spin-off series at some point in the near future. But that's it. Those are 10 different standalone and series that fall within the mystery, suspense, romantic suspense, thriller kind of categories. I hope maybe you found some recommendations from this list that will help you out if you're looking for anything that kind of falls within that sphere. Have you read any of the books that I covered today? If so, what did you think about them? And do you have any books that you would highly recommend that would fall into this genre? Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate you all so very much. And as always, remember to keep following your dreams and believing in the magic of this thing called life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.